So, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. So today we got ourselves a little Logic Pro tutorial. I know it gets a little tricky, like using plugins for the first time, but I hope that I'm able to break this down. And that you're able to understand how to really use a noise gate for future like reference, right? So I would have sorry about the room noise in my background, by the way. That hiss is that infamous hiss I've been talking about in most of my recordings. I would have processed this post, but I'm a little lazy today. Right, so let's get started on this noise gate. So as you know, all plugins go on this left channel right here. You want to look for a plugin, you search it up, yada yada yada, right? So every plugin, as you know, or as you've probably seen by now, has knobs with different parameters. I'm gonna break down the parameters one by one so that you're able to understand them without, guessing what the hell they do and stuff. Because that's how I used to do it at first, right? So your threshold is pretty much the knob that messes with your noise floor, right? So what that does is you're putting a exact number on when you want the noise gate to activate, pretty much, if that makes sense. Like, all right, once something goes over this specific amount of volume in terms of decibels, boom, I want you to start opening that noise gate, right? So the whole point of it is to set like your noise gate just above like that noise floor, not on the quietest part of your vocal, right? So if your breaths are getting chopped, that means that your threshold is too high, all right? So room noise normally sits in like this -45 to -35 range. Like me right now, I know my room noise is like in this -36, -37 range, right? I only know that because I reference my volume meter on my interface, which I was telling you about. You probably just don't know how to access it on your Scarlett, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll break that down to you another day. So yeah, so threshold, like I said, I'm gonna just put it at that for now. For me, I'm gonna play also a vocal of mine. Don't judge me. This is a super old vocal, probably like 3, 4 years ago. So room noise is a little crazy and just not the best quality vocal. But yeah. So next button, reduction, right? So reduction pretty much sounds exactly like it's labeled, and it's just pretty much the amount of noise being reduced by that noise gate, once you enable that threshold, right? So I would say not to go crazy on this right here unless like you really have, like, you would go heavier to this like 0 or like -5 area if you have like chaos in the background, AC on, a whole bunch of kids going crazy, and even then I wouldn't even recommend to do that. You might just have to re-record, because you'd probably be chopping off too many dynamics, or squashing your dynamics, I should say. So yeah, right? So reduction, I would say for this, it all depends. Like, I would keep it in this 45 to like 20 area, only because like it only depends on how severe like the noise in your ambience is. I'm gonna keep it at 100 so I can show you how I use a noise gate on a vocal, if that makes sense, from scratch. Let me also make this what it was before, sorry. So yeah, the next one, this history, I don't even know how to say that, to be honest, but the concept of that is pretty much used more for like production wise. So I wouldn't even say for you to worry about that for your vocals. Just always leave this like this, to be honest, right? So your attack, the attack is letting the noise gate know how quickly you want it to like start like attacking that noise, reducing that noise, right? So generally speaking, for a vocal, I would say anywhere from 0 to like 5 milliseconds is good, only because that's quick enough to like catch like those consonants, like the T, the K, the P, but you also don't want it too fast to where like your voice clicks, if that makes sense, because you hear like these pops and these clicks if your noise gate is if the attack is too fast on it, per se, right? So I would say avoid putting 0. That's way too fast. Honestly, you might hear clicks and pops if you do that. So I like, it's called like medium fast, right? So medium fast, boom, attack, 3 milliseconds. I keep it like at the default, if I'm being honest. Hold is a little different. Hold is like how long you want noise gate to hold that reduction, like, but in between phrases, because there's a lot of like spaces when in between your words as you're recording, if that makes sense, right? So for your hold, I would say anywhere between like 20 to like 60 milliseconds is good, because it helps keep that gate open between like syllables, like I mentioned. And like if you're doing like anything like fast rap or like fast talking in general, it prevents like machine gun effect, like a lot of pop 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 pop, because the noise gate is constantly like opening closing, and you don't want that. So release, right? So your release is exactly what it sounds like. It's when you're releasing, the noise gate itself, right? So you want something fast but not too fast, because it could chop your words, because you're releasing, that that noise gate too soon. Whereas if you release it too slow, though, your room noise is gonna creep back in, because you're releasing that noise reduction too late, right? So I would say anywhere for a vocal in that 120 to 250 range, right? So I'm gonna tweak this as I go, right? So, oh, one last thing, I actually forgot about this. So this right here is very important. This little side area right here is funny, because this is called a side chain, right? So what a side chain does is pretty much you're letting the noise gate know internally that you want it to only work on a specific area that you're gonna be focusing on with an EQ, right? With high pass filters and a low pass filter. So this is the high pass filter, this is the low pass filter, right? So boom. So you want to cut off the highs at about this 10K range, only because you want to like preserve as much as the vocal as possible. And for like a female's vocal like yours, I would suggest like this 95 all up to like 120. But to preserve more of like the clarity and the integrity of the vocal, I would go like 95 or something like that. Since I'm a male, I'm gonna drop mine down to 84, because it's good to roll off anything 80 under, right? I would say this look ahead is good too, to know about, because that pretty much is for like the faster like consonants. But I would say don't put that on. Don't use a look ahead for when you're tracking, aka recording your vocals, because a look ahead ends up adding a whole bunch of like latency, aka it's gonna be a super delay in your vocal and like your headphones, so it might like mess you up as you're recording, because you're gonna think you're off time, if that makes sense, right? Alright, so now let's get to the goods. Let's play this vocal in context first, see how it sounds, and then we're gonna play everything else, right? I don't wanna play from the beginning. Let's take going overboard. I forgot to take my life vest. Decisions that I'm making, I just question if they're righteous. Trying to save your soul, never ask you what the price is. Figured I should tell you just how precious that your life is. Right? So boom. Doesn't sound too bad. Doesn't sound the best, right? So now let's solo that as, anybody who would be mixing would. And we're gonna see what we need to work on now with this noise gate, right? So boom. Yeah. Alright. Decisions that I make, not just question if they right. Oh, also one last thing. Sorry, I forgot to mention this. So this open and close, right? So when this when this button is lit up, this green button right here, that means that the gate is open. When this is lit up, vice versa, gate is closed, all right? So right there, you hear the bleed, right? All right, so right now we're listening for like room noise, headphone bleed. So I already hear like headphone bleed in this first part. So I'm gonna run it back one more time. Also, my noise gate is currently bypassed. So this is raw vocal. Yeah. Decisions that I'm making, I just question if they righteous. Trying to save your soul, never ask you what the price is. Figured I should tell you just how precious that your life is. Alright, so we can hear a lot of room noise. Like, no lie, a lot of it. So I'm gonna work on my settings. I know for me, I like a not too slow release, not too fast. So something around this 190 area is good for me. I'm gonna keep the hold and the attack where they are, because I think those settings really work for my vocal per se. And I think that'll be like the best settings for like anything to avoid like those clicks and pops that I was mentioning earlier, if that makes sense, right? The only thing that I have to work on is my noise floor. So I know for me, my noise floor always sits around this 37, 36 dB range. dB is the volume measurement, okay? All right, and so let me just play this back and see how much I gotta reduce. Yeah, see, I don't know if you can hear. Oh, actually, sorry. So I'm turning on now. Yeah.
Decisions that I'm making, I just question if they righteous. Trying to save your soul, never ask you what the price is. Figured I should tell you just how precious that your life is.
So it doesn't sound bad. The vocal is still intact. I don't hear it sound like, you know, when your dynamics are squashed, if something sounds muffled. So it still doesn't sound muffled. I don't hear no changes in volume. That means that everything is, you know, the vocal is still nice and good. Like we kept it intact, but we're attacking the noise like we want to, right? So I still hear room noise and that headphone bleeds. I have not touched the reduction button. Now I'm gonna reduce noise. I input my noise threshold. I input the attack, even though I didn't change it. The hold, I didn't change it, but I changed my release. And now everything is sounding smooth. I don't hear no clicks, no pops, no chopped words, right? So now I'm gonna reduce, and like I said, I know that I'm gonna need to go a little harder on reduction only because I have a lot of headphone bleed and a lot of like room noise that I'm hearing, right? So let's try like something in this 40 range and let's see how that works. Yeah. So you see it clipped a little noise.
Decisions that I'm making, I just question if they righteous. Trying to save your soul, never ask you what the price is. Figured I should tell you just how precious that your life is.
Right, sounds better. I still hear in the beginning a lot of bleed that got a little choppy, and then you know, a little bit of room noise, right? So I'm gonna push this a little harder. I'm gonna say like this 18 area, because I feel like this should get the job done without like damaging my vocal or like, you know, messing with the clarity of it. Yeah.
Decisions that I'm making, I just question if they righteous. Trying to save your soul, never ask you what the price is. Figured I should tell you just how precious that your life is.
Boom. So right about there sounds much better, right? So in the beginning where you hear like that chopped up bleed, you can obviously clean up this clip right here and chop, like, you know, clear whatever excess noise you hear there in between the clip and stuff and delete that. But you know, for the most part, it sounds much better. So I'm gonna play it without the noise gate and then with the noise gate one last time. All right. A lot of bleed. I'm run that back one more time. But you peep that bleed in the beginning. A lot of bleed there. Yeah.
Decisions that I'm making, I just question if they righteous. Trying to save your soul, never ask you what the price is. Figured I should tell you just how precious that your life is.
Boom, right? So now let's turn that noise gate on and let's hear like the difference in the quality of the vocal. You're gonna hear it sound more isolated. It sounds more upfront in presence because a lot of that low end and high end noise was cut, right? Yeah.
Decisions that I'm making, I just question if they righteous. Trying to save your soul, never ask you what the price is. Figured I should tell you just how precious that your life is.
Right, not too bad, right? Not too bad. So my last piece of advice would be when it comes to like noise reduction, be very careful not to like overdo it. Only because if you do, excuse me, there's certain things called artifacts, right? So let's say you push a plugin too hard and make it overwork in what you're trying to make it do. Sometimes things called artifacts can be created on the audio that is like some sort of like digital distortion that sounds really like, best way to explain it, sounds like fuzz. It's like it gets really staticky and you don't want that on your audio at all because that is really hard to like clean up if you damage your vocals with, you know, artifacts. So I would just say, don't push too hard, but also like uh the vocal doesn't have to be entirely perfect. Like you actually want to make it sound authentic and not like you're in a room sitting in a cardboard box like recording, if that makes sense. But yeah, I hope that this was able to help you and shit, if you want any more, just let me know and I got you. I got you. Good luck though. Good luck though. Takes a while to learn this, but good luck.